Hello, everyone. I all hope you have very much quite of a blessed, great day, and a blessed, great day, and also a blessed, great morning indeed. Very sorry for the phone going a bit light, a bit dim, a bit quietly, a bit dim when I was actually still quietly continuing shooting and finishing the last episode yesterday because the battery was quietly, very much quietly low. I should have actually mentioned that to you guys. But regardless of that, guys, I'm still very much quietly, superly grateful for your guys' support in following me and in also supporting me. Means a lot to me. Please continue to do so. And for those of you who are quietly subscribing and following me, your support means the universe to me. Please continue to do so as well. May you guys have a blessed week and a great day. And just remember, guys, I'm also quietly still rooting for you as well, guys. So stay hopeful and stay positive and stay hopeful and stay positive no matter what and stay strong. We're in this together. So on today's episode, we're to speak about the most great powerful sinister witches known as the Sun Witches, who are the sisters to Nurzak, who is a former member of the Thunder Heroes many centuries ago, which I actually precisely did exactly tell most of you the story of Nurzak of the story of Nurzak's story on YouTube and on Shorts. If one of you can exactly look it up, you'll actually find it on YouTube. And for those of you who don't exactly know about Nurzak's story, you'll definitely find it on YouTube. Those of you in TikTok, you'll find his story on YouTube on Billy Yall's channel. So regardless of that, the Sun Witches are quietly related to Nurzak, who is a super villain and a high-ranking member of an ancient secret society of supervillains known as the Order of the Five that decides the fate of humanity and wants sole control over known worlds and known planets, over the entire sacred world and the entire sacred universe, and over humanity and planet Earth and the entire solar system and other ancient universes as well. The Sun, which is a very powerful and also very greatly, also very quietly devious, manipulative, which is very highly skilled in deception and very loyal members of the Order of the Five, who completely exactly provide them with a great services and with a great expertise as well in the process so that the organization can highly function well, maintaining its status quo and its remaining and maintaining its greater status quo and also its dark ancient reputation, which the members of the Order of the Five exactly operate from the shadows of the entire sacred universe and of the shadows of humanity, so they can control mankind from within the shadows rather than in the open. And it is due to this that the Sun Witches gratefully respect the members of the organization, since each member is a very formidable force of evil that can never be messed with or underestimated. And due to this, they share a personal close relationship with Nurzak as their greatest brother, and they able to exactly willing to aid him with his respective goals and mission in the process. So let's get right into it. The Sun Witches were quietly, very quietly powerful witches, because during back in the ancient days of the sacred magic universe's wars and battle, they were constantly in battle and in war with the Sun fairies trying to have some control over the magical suns, over the magical suns of the magical kingdoms, which are known as the Sun Kingdoms, in order to use and obtain their power for the ancient imaginations as well. Due to this, the Sun Fairies and the great Sun Hunters and the great Phoenician Hunters stood together side by side, fighting the forces of evil known as the Sun Witches. Nurzak's sister, who is the leader of the Sun Witches, exactly told her sisters and the rest of her forces that they must exactly withdraw from the battle, realizing that they were not exactly accomplished a given task, that they were meant to literally that they were actually meant to literally accomplish it in a matter of time as well. After their great failure within the battle in trying to control the magical sun's powers and abilities, they quietly exactly went into their secretive, dark, magical hideout where they can exactly plan their new sinister plan and games in the new sinister plans and also sinister operation as well. During which, in that particular time, Nurzak's sister, who is the elders of the Sun Witches, they all exactly took interest in studying the ancient ways, the ancient powerful ways of the ancient powerful ways of unlocking secret techniques and powers and abilities, where they full abilities of the dark magic, or rather known as the dark arts, or witchcraft, can highly evolve and can also highly adapt into a very, very special way. Due to this, Nurzek's sister, who is the leader of the Sun Witches, exactly told the rest of her sisters that they need to exactly gather more accessible knowledge and power in order to exactly gain the powers and the abilities that they precisely actually need in order for them to remain the most powerful witches of all. Within that particular century, the Sun Witches exactly went into the ancient caves in order to study more about the ancient mythical goddess of the sun, who was rumored to be a powerful sun dark witch of all sacred history and magic as well, and also through sacred ancient folklore, who was rumored to be a powerful queen of the sun witches, or either known as the mother of the great sun witches as well. Due to this, they were able to unlock the many mysterious, secretive, dark techniques where the goddess of the sun was able to access from her own forbidden powers and her greater abilities, where Nurzak's sisters were able to literally access those techniques and powers in manipulating wood, in manipulating the elemental energies of nature, such as wood, fire, stone, sand, dust, and also earth, and the power of creating psychic dark illusions at will, and the power of controlling many known worlds and many civilizations in a matter of minutes, and with the power of controlling dark entities and creatures at will, which they were able to perfect it with ace as well. During which, in that particular time, Nurzak exactly came to the aid of his sisters in order to ask them to precisely to back him up with a sinister goal and with a sinister mission. They decided they will actually lend their expertise and their greater talents for his global conquest of conquering the entire Thunder world and the rest of the Thunder universe, so that he can exactly remain its next sole ruling leading monarch as well in the process, which it will also benefit them gratefully, which will actually benefit them greatly in both ways as well. During which on the near end of the great ancient times of the centuries, the sun, which is actually were able to create a powerful dark magical convergence, where they were able to focus in their powers and their abilities in a full precise, by creating a dark ultimate spell, where they'll be able to wield enough powers in dark magic, during which in the ancient caves, where they were actually able to practice their dark magical witchcraft and their dark magical rituals. There were ancient paintings and ancient drawings and carvings of powerful unknown monsters and creatures and unknown sinister dark animals and beings that were quietly erased throughout the entire history of the sun fairies and of the sun hunters, and especially throughout the entire history of the seven nation hunters as well, which quietly proves that there is a powerful ancient known threat that was quietly emanating within the shadows and working within the shadows of the entire secretive magical wars from behind the scenes as well, which the other three sisters of the sun witches began converging their power to creating a powerful ultimate spell, which during out that creation of the ultimate spell rose a powerful beautiful gem of a crystalline diamond that was quietly bright yellow, with the power glowing with the power of dark magic, or rather with the power of color of violet, symbolizing the power of dark magic within the crystal that is quietly radiating within it itself as well. Due to this, the sun witch is able to discover that their powers are fully growing, and that they decided it's best that they speed up the progress of their plans once and for all, in order to begin a final sinister plan and goal without any interruptions at this rate. Within the middle centuries, the sun witches began their full barbaric raid and conquest over many dark worlds and planets and civilization in order to obtaining their powers in a mystical weapons and objects that are very highly crucial to their goals and to their sole objectivity, which they were able to complete it with ace in a matter of minutes as well, where the great dark hunters and the great golden hunters were quietly able to stop the sun witches. They realize that they don't have to exactly prevent the most powerful, devastating witches when they all share the same common interest they decided it's best to allow the Sun Witches to besiege the entire magical kingdoms and all the entire races, which will be very, very crucial for them to benefit from the destruction of the chaos that they actually invoked and created as well. On the end of the Great Centuries, the Sun Witches were quietly in an ancient waterfall cave where there were giant crystallic statues of monsters, creatures, and beings that were quietly the beings and creatures that were quietly erased from the Crystal Kingdom. The Crystal Kingdom is one of the most powerful, potent kingdoms in the entire sacred magic universe that knows all that holds all the ancient histories and archives about dark spells and crystal spells, convergence, monsters, beings, and creatures that were highly quietly erased throughout sacred history. These crystal statues were highly different as they each symbolizes dark monsters, some symbolizes beings and creatures from the other dark universe, some from other pocket dimensions, others from twisted space-time dark dimensions, others from unknown dark dimensions, others from sister planets, from unknown planets, others from nearer magical worlds and planets and civilization. Regardless of that, the leader of the Sun Witches began exactly recreating the entire room of the cave with the crystal stone hall where magic was quietly radiating within its entire sector, where she was able to focus her power and her full ability with the rest of her sisters, telling them that they are so close in gaining more power and more greater interpretation they can exactly unable to wish for, due to their great experience and to their great knowledge, that we're able to actually access the forbidden technique and the forbidden knowledge that they've been seeking for many centuries. And they all agree that it's only a matter of time until they get those powers as well. On the on the actual 17th of April, the leader of the Sun Witches was quietly able to reconvene with the rest of her sisters of her coven, telling them that it's time for them to begin the full attack on the other magical schools and worlds and planets in order for them to expand their power and their full dominion over many worlds and over many planets, which they've been hiding in the shadows of the sacred magic universe for far too long and for far too many centuries. It's time for them to actually show the entire magical fairies and the Phoenician hunters how powerful they are and how very, very dangerous they're fully able to grow and rise to their full potential. And the others agreed that it's definitely the right time to begin the full attack as well. On the actual 15th of May, the Sun Witches exactly began the full attack by bringing an entire school that is quietly flying above the clouds, of the other magical schools, where the leader of the Sun Witches exactly told the rest of her sisters, when they fully conquered the entire magical schools and colleges of the entire sacred magic universe, they'll be able to go up to the sacred world and conquer the entire sacred academies of the Phoenician hunters and obtain and acquire their power in a matter of minutes, which will make them more powerful and more devastating. And the other dark witches won't be able to keep up or either to compete against them, as the other sister exactly was able to tell the other sisters that it's time for them to show how powerful they have come and how dangerous they've literally become over the following centuries and over the following years, not to actually underestimating them and taking them quietly, lightly. And they all precisely agree that it's actually a matter of time for them to do that. Would all the Covenary Sun Witches of the Coven be able to literally come out from the entire magical school of the college? They began besieging the entire college of they began besieging the entire nature school of the colleges that houses paladins and warriors and great fairies that bond with nature and druids and witches all alike, which began turning out into an all-out battle and an all-out war, as the great powerful three Sun Witches remained on the sky, hovering on the sky with the levitation of their powers, able to watch the battle from the skies until the magic hero fairies arrived just in nick of time to saving the college and also to protecting the rest of its inhabitants with the universal magic heroes and universal magical and the others pressed forward with an attack in order to destroy the Sun Witches' plans and the Dark Witches' plans once and for all. Unbeknownst to them, the leader of the Sun Witches decided it's best for them to test their new powers and their new abilities when they fully fully synchronized their hands and then began holding their hands together in order to creating a powerful dark magical energy which began to radiating within their hands, which began to officially radiating within their hands when they literally awakened the monsters and the creatures from the very very statues from the very very statues from the very very statues that quietly kept them in prison, for many centuries, and the creatures began awakening up and began fighting, which created nothing but havoc and chaos upon its wake. And the mighty, most powerful three sun witches of the leaders of the other sun witches of the coven exactly remained in the sky, happily laughing and quietly exactly admiring their work and their powers fully highly growing. The Magic Hero Fairies and Universal Magical and the rest of their team were forced to fight this vile threat in order to take it down before it can fully proceed with its global conquest of the entire schools and magical schools as well. Realizing that the enemy has had the upper hand, they decided it's best that they come and call out for backup again as well. On the precise 18, on the actual precise 18 on the precise 18th of May, the Sun Witch is exactly able to tell the warriors that they are quietly completely under their sole control and under their custody, and that the entire schools and college and now belong to them precisely. And with the other member of the coven exactly was able to tell the leaders of the Sun Witches that it was only a matter of time until the heroes come back in order to fight them again, which is why they exactly told the remaining witches to remain gods, to remain guarded, to remain as gods, to watch their prisoners not to escape, while they come up with a sinister plan in order to wipe out the enemy with permanent effective immediately right at this end of the day as well. On that precise day, the Universal Magic Heroes began taking a different approach to fighting the threat rightly direct at its central headquarters, while the Magic Hero Fairies exactly began their full campaigning with the rest of the allies, such as the Universal Founders and the Universal Water Heroes, and with the rest of the other magical warriors and druids and 4,800s began exactly liberating the college, while Universal Magical and the rest of the team fought up against the three powerful sun witches, were the leaders of the entire coven and were able to completely fight up against them until they hold up their own. Universal Magical was quite impressed that the sun witches have highly grown too powerful and too dangerous and initially unpredictable with their powers and with their ability. The leader of the entire witch coven exactly told the rest of the witches that they have to withdraw since they quietly lost the battle, and that the college is not quietly any of use to them now, since they were able to test their powers and abilities, seeing that they have quietly grown so powerful and so dangerous that they have no need for them to actually stay there's only for them to stay when they've already quietly completed the job and the given task at hand that they were meant to actually complete it. So to do so, they decided to completely leave, and the rest of the other witches left, and the monsters were defeated as well within the period of the battle. Universal Magical was able to tell the rest of the team and their allies that the Sun Witches have highly become more powerful and too dangerous as well, meaning that they gain new powers and new abilities they never see coming from afar away. And the other allies agreed that their enemies are highly adapting and they are also highly evolving as well in a very, very particular rate. Excuse me. On the actual 26th of June, the leader of the Sun Witches was able to reconvene with the other dark witches on an ancient dark magical cave, able to telling them that the progress of their planning is still holding fruitful, and it will always exactly benefit them with a mutual goal and with a mutual understanding. And the other witches exactly precisely agree that is all that they exactly want, to making sure that the covens remain in power and they remain the supreme rulers of the entire sacred magic universe and of the other sacred legendary worlds and civilizations of the entire sacred magic universe, so that they can become and remain the sole queens and monarchies of all the other colleges and schools and kingdoms in the process, which precisely they definitely all agree to that as well. On the actual 4th of July, the leader of the Sun Witches was able to meet up with Nerzak on her same base of headquarters, on her same base of operation of her headquarters, where Nerzak was able to tell her sister that the members of the Order of the Five are very completely impressed with the progress of the Sun Witches planning, and also with their goals and with their great missions, and that it's only a matter of time until they ask one of you guys in order to meet up with them face to face. And Nerzak's sister, the leader of the Sun Witches, agreed that she'll be honored to meet up with these great and powerful associates who actually exactly deserve her recognition and who deserve her tremendous respect, since it's quietly heard so much about them as well, and they've quietly heard so much about her as well, which in return she'll be happy to provide her services and her greater knowledge in what she precisely knows and how to conquering worlds and planets and civilizations in a process. And Nurzek seemed very pleased that her sister agreed to the proposition as well. On the actual 18th of August, the leader of the Sun Witches and the rest of her sister and the rest of her sisters of her coven were all quietly within the dark magical school within the dark magical school halls, as they all exactly as the leader began telling the young freshmen of the witches that they must concentrate on their powers and on their abilities in order to access the energies of dark magic and of the dark arts, in order to focus it and channeling their powers in a very negative way. To do that, they were able to speed up the progress, and the witches grew to their full potential, rising and creating their own dark magical powers and their abilities in the very same progress as well. And the Sun Witches remained very impressed that the young freshmen are highly adapting and are also highly evolving as well. On the 21 of September, on the actual 21 of September, the leader of the Sun Witches was able to meet up with the most darkest and most ancient supreme sorcerers, with the most darkest and ancient supreme sorcerers of the entire sacred magical dark worlds, on the entire sacred magical dark worlds of the entire dark universe, who was quietly an unknown, and was quietly a legendary, who was quietly a dark legendary figure and known throughout the entire sacred magic history, and known throughout the entire sacred magic history as folklores and great legendary mythical myths to 4 nation hunters and to the 7 nation hunters and to the 6 nation hunters as well. He was quietly able to reveal himself from the shadows, telling the leader of the Sun Witches that their plans are mysteriously exactly holding progress, and every one of it, and one day it was soon able to bear fruit. His eyes were completely yellow, as in literally supremely yellow, wearing a very distinct cloak, as in a powerful red cloak, symbolizing the power that he quietly possesses and initially gained throughout his central headquarters, which was a powerful dark mystical cave that houses ancient skeleton dark magical bones and greater dark magical bones and artifacts of creatures and powers of dark magic that he's been collecting throughout the following centuries and throughout the ancient times as well. The dark, mysterious supreme sorcerer told the leader of the Sun Witches that with everything else quietly folding the way it was quietly meant to be, it'll soon be a matter of time until their goals are precisely realized as well. As the leader of the Sun Witches actually told the supreme dark sorcerer that it's only a matter of time they can actually able to count on that as well. On the actual of the 12th of October, the leader of the Sun Witches was able to precisely meet up with her sisters on the same ancient dark crystal hall, where she told them that it's time for them to converge their powers once and for all. During the convergence, they were able to summon a purple symbol symbolizing the number 4 itself, and the others were able to conjure the same symbol symbolizing the number 4 in its purplish form, which the 4 nation hunter symbol is the number 4, and it also quietly symbolizes the sacred world and the entire unknown universe that's quietly at war with itself as well. Despite that, with the symbol of the 4 nation hunters quietly in a purple symbolic form, the witches were able to put down the symbol right on the ground, and they were able to combining it all with the powers of summoning the symbol and conjuring right on the ground. To doing so, they were able to open up a powerful dark configuration of a portal on a dark configuration of a dark portal on top of the entire hall, where they mysteriously actually summoned an unknown force of a creature to coming out from an unknown dark mysterious dimension, and where the portal began closing up. The creature quietly remained unconscious and quietly in a deepened state, since it was quietly transported to another unknown dimension, and the Sun Witches looked on the creature, and the leader exactly stated this is something that they need to precisely to work with in a more faster and quicker rate in order to boost their plans and their goals in a more very advanced way. On the particular day, on the 13th of November, at the exact same day of the whole, the leader of the sun, which is exactly approached the creature as the creature began, as the creature began shifting and shape shifting back into its original state, into its original full flesh, beautiful full flesh of a human boy, of a great human boy, where he possesses the power of changing the skin of his color and the power of changing the eyes, the power of changing his eyes as well into blue, red, orange, or yellowish colors. By doing so, he was able to regain his full armor, his full body armor as well, and his full body cloaking of his armor as well. And he was able to gain a powerful, sinister staff that quietly actually held a precise skeleton of a creature, of a dragon, of a dragon, of a dragon, of a dark mythical dragonary creature, which was precisely quietly on the staff itself as well. Due to this, the being was able to ask the leader of the sun, which is why they precisely summoned him from the dark dimension in order for him to come back to the sacred magic universe. The leader of the sun, which is explained to the ancient supreme dark sorcerer that they need his expertise and they need his help more faster and more highly possible, because now they're planning the next attack and they need him to be precisely to be there in order for him to witness what has changed beyond his time, since the entire sacred magic universe and the entire sacred world have now changed into different perspective ways, and the changes have quietly gone so badly and so badly into the ancient modern ways and to the ancient different old ways that are able to literally coexist together. The Dark Supreme Sorcerer was quietly intrigued that he thought it is best to see this for himself as well. On the particular day of the 10th of December, the dark, mighty, powerful sun witches and the rest of the new freshmen of the witches were quietly hovering within the entire schools, within the ancient school known as the ancient school of power, which actually teaches young freshmen fairies and great fairy hunters and coronation hunters and other supernatural powerful creatures and guardian creatures alike how to wield and how to control their powers and their abilities as well. The supreme sorcerer was quietly hovering within the school as he began launching his staff on top of the sky's atmosphere in order to create many powerful purple lightning strikes, and the leader of the sun witches and the rest of the other witches were quietly watching idly by as the dark supreme sorcerer began unleashing his devastating dark magical powers upon the school itself, which attracted the allies of the Four Nation Hunters of the Intergalactic Coalition to precisely to go there and investigate what is exactly happening within the entire college itself, which the Universal Magic Heroes and Universal Magical were precisely in the area, were precisely actually in the entire realm of the college in order to actually learn more how to channeling their powers and their abilities in a more positive way, which they decided it's best to fight this mysterious, unknown, sinister, dark, shadowy threat once and for all. When they fought up against the threat, they realized that the sun witches and the other freshman witches were quietly watching from a far up close battle, and they realized that this threat and this being was quietly far more ancient and far more shadowy than anything else they've actually encountered and fought during their previous adventures and during their previous lives as well. Universal Magical released all her beautiful powers and magical abilities against the dark, shadowy Supreme Sorcerer, and the Supreme Sorcerer was able to defeat the members of the Universal Magic Heroes with one ace of his powers, and they were completely defeated. Due to this, he was able to teleport himself completely out of the way, and the other witches quietly completely left, hovering from the college, and the rest of the entire flying school of the college left the entire realm itself as well. Universal Magical realized that the sun witches are not just becoming highly unpredictable, they're becoming highly intelligent and very highly cooperative, forming sinister ancient alliances with the most devious and darkest sorcerers that were quietly unknown throughout the entire sacred magic history and throughout the entire history of the 7 Nation Hunters and of the 6 Nation Hunters and of the 2 Nation Hunters as well. On the actual particular day of the 17th of January, the Sun, which is the three powerful leading members of the Coven of the Sun, which is, and were able to officially convene with the members of the Order of the Five on a Dark Crystal Temple, which was another base of the operation, which the Dark Crystal Temple was actually precisely on the territory of the goddess of the ancient goddess of the ancient goddess of lives, on the ancient goddess of lives homeworld, and of her homeworld, and of her ruling ancient country, of her homeworld, and of her ancient ruling country, which she rules with an iron fist and with a great powerful sadistic authority as well. The great Sun, which is the great three powerful leaders of the Sun, which is were able to officially represent themselves to the members of the Order of the Five, and the members of the Order of the Five officially welcomed them into the high-ranking ranks, as all the other members exactly did. The Goddess of Life was able to tell the most powerful, devastating Sun, which is that they're very impressed of their abilities and their power and their great ferocity and their fierce devotion to their cause and to their sole mission, which made them very powerful and also very dangerous as well. And the leaders of the ancient secret society and the other members began telling the Sun Witches that they definitely have earned their respect and their tremendous recognition, that their reputation completely, literally does exactly earn their full, precise recognition. The leader of the Sun Witches exactly told the members of the Order of the Five that they are all what they're doing is serving their full purpose and their full potential, regardless of exactly what has happened, that they're willing to do it no matter what. And despite that, they're willing to serve the members of the organization of the Order of the Five and providing them with a great expertise and with the most powerful individual, great ideology and their knowledge on how to wielding and controlling magical powers and objects and great highly advanced technology. Master Shadow exactly told the great Sun Witches that they don't need the expertise in dark magic or in any expertise. All they need is the expertise in controlling greater, highly sophisticated dark magical technologies and all greater dark technologies, or all greater highly advanced dark technologies and cosmic weapons, which are very useful for the organization and for its operatives, which will be very partly useful for it in order for it to serve its crucial role. The other Sun Witches exactly told the members of the Order of the Five that they can just do more than actually provide their great services with technology, and they'll be able to do more if they are willing to let them. The Goddess of Life exactly told the other members that it's best if the Sun Witches actually precisely leave out the entire experiences and their knowledges to their followers and to the rest of them, while they will provide them the expertise that they need for their goals and for their future plans. And the Sun Witches were able to tell the members of the Order of the Five that they can actually provide them with great influence and with great connection throughout the entire sacred magic universe, which is exactly what they precisely need. And the other members were very highly skeptical, as the other member of the organization, known as Golden Knight, told the Sun Witches that they don't need the expertise to conquering the entire sacred magic universe, which is, after all, part of their plan, but their long-term plan is for them to decide the fate of humanity and controlling the entire solar system and the rest of the sacred universe, which is what they precisely need. That is all they precisely actually need, which is quietly possible for them to actually assist them with that. The Sun Witches exactly told them that their goals are also their goals. Their goals are actually probably their goals as well, because they share a same common interest and that they have a highly different objectivity than theirs, but they're willing to actually aid them and they're willing to find common ground, which will be very useful for them and for the rest of their followers. And the members of the Order of the Five seemed highly intrigued and very pleased of that proposition, in order to hear that coming out from the very mouth and ears of the newest members as well. On the actual 16th of February, the leader of the Sun Witches and the rest of the other and the two of our sisters of our coven were able to actually combining their hands together in order to create a powerful mystical astral projection of themselves, where he was able to precisely to traveling into an ancient, powerful, dark, mythical cave, where they were able to witness ancient monster monstrous statue figures that were quietly erased throughout Formation Hunter history. Some were quietly known throughout sacred magic history, throughout the entire fire fairy history, and throughout the entire nature fairy history as well. They discovered that the ancient monster statue is exactly right there where it's supposed to be, and they discovered that it's time that they summon it and used it for a very sinister ritual as well. On the precise day, on the actual precise day of the 20th of March, the leader of the Sun Witches was able to summon every member of the coven through an actual shadowy astral projection of themselves, and they were all precisely standing on the hands of the ancient monster statue, where she exactly told the members of the coven that their plans now need to accelerate since they are now officially the operatives of the organization known as the Order of the Five, and that its dark goals and its long-term plan must bear fruit, and that they must speed up the progress once and for all. On the actual 21 of April, the members of the Sun Witches were all quietly present during the next sealing of the powers of the Four Nation Hunters inside the monster statue once and for all, where the leader of the Sun Witches was able to focus their powers and their abilities, and the entire concentration was essentially hooked up on the sealing ritual, where they were all exactly focusing it until a group of Four Nation Hunter allies and a War Boys team led the entire strike team in order to investigate what is exactly happening within the ritual, since the great witches and the members of the group were able to take one of the Four Nation Hunters, one of the high-ranking Four Nation Hunters of the Four Nation Hunter allies straightly captive in order to using him for a sinister ritual. The leader of the Sun Witches was able to detect many enemies coming to their hideouts, and she was able to tell which member will be able to anticipate to stopping the enemies from interrupting them with a sinister ritual. One member exactly volunteered, but the others exactly told the other member that he doesn't possess more power and more greater highly ability in order to neutralize the enemy, or to keep them busy enough, or to keep them busy and stalling them enough until the sealing is highly completed. They decided it's best that they actually select the newest member who possesses the most devastating powers, and his power level a highly full of potential, graciously full of many potential powers, and his greater physical energy can withstand the battling of all the other sinister forces. With the rest of the other members of the group began selecting the member that were quietly able to select it. They all agreed that it's best that he takes the lead in order to distracting the enemy. So the leader of the Sun Witches was able to actually use a very forbidden shadowy symbolic technique, which was able to project a powerful, sinister, shadowy, shape-shifting clone of the member, who while the real member's body was still highly focusing in the ritual, was still highly concentrating on the sealing ritual of sealing the powers of the Four Nation Hunters inside the monster statue, while his copy, or his shape-shifting clone, was able to shown to be distracting the allies of the Universal Heroes, where War Boy and the other members exactly decided it's best to fight this sinister criminal and take him down once and for all. The battle quietly lasted about an hour and a minute, until the other member was able to detect that there are more enemies approaching their hideout, and that they must speed up the process of the sealing ritual. With that being said, the leader of the Sun Witches exactly asked if the other member will be eager enough to stall the enemies until the ritual is highly completed without any further interruption. The other member quietly wanted to exactly select himself again, but the others exactly disagreed that he's not exactly powerful as to all the others, which his energy is not exactly the same as all the other energies. So they decided it's best to select the other original member to keep the enemy busy and enough to stalling them until the sealing process is completed. With that being said, with the other members quietly going to selecting him, The leader actually began the same symbolic hand seals of creating a powerful shadowy shape-shifting clone technique, while the other member's real body remained exactly in hiding during the process of the sealing, while the copy of themselves will literally continue to fight up against the enemy. With the battle still continuing to fighting on two fronts, and the sealing ritual was still highly continuing, realizing that the ritual is quietly taking as much time and focus with the enemy highly distracting them, the other members agreed that it's best that if the other one remains as a spy, keeping a lookout and a particular looking out during the ritual, during the sealing process, to making sure that if there are any other more intruders or enemies, they will selectively select a new member or the other members to keep them busy and also to stalling them until the process is completed. With that being said, he agreed to precisely to use a piece of his body and a piece of his other sinister ancient body, which is quietly merged up, which is quietly one and infused with nature, in order to remain as a lookout to the base, to the hideout of the base, in order to making sure that if any other enemies approach, he will precisely alert the other members and the leader of the group that they'll actually have to highly participate in order to stall the enemy until the ritual quietly is finished. With that being said, they all exactly focus their energies and their concentration inside the sealing ritual until the Phoenician hunter's powers and abilities were completely, literally absorbed and extracted from his body and sealed inside the monster statue completely. His body was quietly able to fall from the sky after the sealing was quietly completed, and he was quietly shown to be desiccated and to be highly decimated of all the absorption, and was quietly meant to resume to be dead. The other members exactly stated that the Phoenician hunter that they managed to capture is a very high-ranking official of the entire Phoenician hunter intergalactic coalition, which was not exactly a wise idea in order to capture him and in order to obtain him, in order to seal his powers, which literally gathered the attention of many of the unknown enemies, and which was not meant to happen. The leader exactly explained to the other members it was going to happen one way or another, whether they captured the most valiant or the less unknown invisible creature of being. The Phoenician hunters are quietly very, very powerful, and they're not like any other humans who don't exactly care about the other human beings, but they quietly do care about the rest of their kind, on the great of their people, since they quietly actually see them as all special beings as well. Either way, they were going to get the attention of the most powerful, prominent enemies. Despite that, none of the process is quietly complete, as the leader explained. They must all disperse and make sure to take care of the threat and give them exactly what they want, meaning the body of the ally must be returned to them, since they managed to get exactly what they wanted from it. Despite that, the other members agreed that they'll need to hear the update of the battle and the outcome of it, and they gave it all into the hands of the two members who were able to draw the enemy straight to their hideout. With that being said, the shadowy astral projections began disappearing from the hands of the monster statue, leaving the two members to deal with the chaos and with the attracting the members of the Universal Heroes and the members of the Universal Heroes allies in order to fighting up against them, since the shape-shifting clones techniques were quietly highly of use now, and that they actually served their purpose in the actual front row seat in order to making sure that the seating ritual served its high crucial purpose without the process being highly interrupted. They all agreed that it's time for them to disperse and allow the real members to take care of the threat by themselves as well. On the actual particular of the 20th of April, the leader of the Sun Witches was able to actually remaining within the most powerful, scariest entire sacred village of a nation, which is quietly precisely isolated within the waters, within the actual western waters of the great sacred nations as well, where the people and the rest of the entire inhabitants actually viewed her and her sisters as the great goddesses, as the great angels of the sun, and of the great goddesses sent from the heavens to actually provide them and to release them and liberating them from the horrors of war as well. The other sister was able to tell the leader that the oldest comrade has actually arrived. The leader of the sandwiches was able to meet up with the longest and most powerful comrade, telling him that the preparations are quietly set in order to go in according to plan, and that nothing will mysteriously interrupt the progress of his ultimate goal and plan. The masked man was a different masked man, far different than the red masked man, the iron masked man, and the orange masked man, which you know precisely who he is. Despite that, this masked man did not exactly reveal his mask, as he remained within the shadows of the tower and told the three powerful sun witches that the goals that they needed to proceed with must go forth, and the long-term plans that they've been planning it for centuries and for years is now successfully able to come to fruition, and then they must not underestimate Universal Magic Girl and the rest of the Universal Magic Heroes, and especially never to undermine the Universal Heroes. They are too powerful and too deadly not to be taken lightly. The other sister agreed that she should exactly spare him the great insults of the world, that they can easily take care of children who are highly less powerful than they are, when they quietly have the greatest experience and all the greatest expertise and they can actually ever receive before them. With that being said, the leader quietly said he can actually literally count on the two of you to get the mission done and the job done. Regardless of the outcome, he knows that his fate is quietly still hooked up and literally still hooked up through the three powerful leading powerful witches of the sun witches as well, which he precisely disappeared as well. The leader of the sun witches quietly remained silent. She particularly remained silent after the masked man disappeared within the tower's borders, and she quietly known that things are about to change from a very, very destructive way. On the actual 28th of May, the leader of the sun witches was quietly present during our video audience with the members of the Order of the Five, where Master Shadow was able to tell the members of the Order of the Five that their plans were successfully willing to bear fruit, and it's only a matter of time until they can actually begin advancing their plans and their goals in a more dire way, which means it's more time for them to speed up the progress of their planning and the progress of their sinister goal, which they can no longer exactly wait any longer. And the other members agreed that it's time for them to do that. On the particular day of the 18th of June, the leader of the sun, which was quietly within the ancient dark crystal sun temple, which was able to reconvene with her brother Nerzak, when Nerzak exactly told the leader of the sun, which is that he's very grateful to have her as his sister, and that he quietly appreciates her and the other sisters by his side and by the organization that he's quietly joining forces with. To that end, she also quietly agreed that they do share the same goal and they do share the same common interest as well. Particularly on the 14th of July, the leader of the sun witches was able to summon the other members through a shadowy astral projection, where they were all particularly summoned into an ancient shadowy cave of a hideout, where she particularly told them that it's time for them to begin the process of their planning and of their goals once and for all. The newest members were able to tell the leader of the sun witches that the members of the Order of the Five are they completely aboard with their plans, since their plans are highly different from their plans as well. The leader of the sun witches began to reassuring the group that they all share the same common interest, and he was quietly particularly right about that, since their goals are highly different than their goals, but despite that they do share the same common ground of an interest, which is why they were particularly lending them their expertise and their resources and their connections to making sure the organization and the secret society remains a powerful, dominant force that cannot be underestimated or tolerated in any such of ways, and its true power will not be underestimated, such as its worth. And the other members begin to agree that it's time to facilitate the next phase of their planning. On the actual 7th of August, the leader of the Sun Witches was able to precisely meet up with the old great contacts, with the old great collaborators, such as the shadowy supreme dark sorcerer and the other shadowy supreme dark sorcerer on the great caves of hideout, which is another particular shadowy hideout that houses many skeleton bones of dark dragons and creatures and monsters that are actually precisely used as husk that are actually used precisely as great husk, housing and actually keeping the dark magic powers and the abilities of each creatures and each sentient supernatural creatures and beings as well. Despite that, the leader of the Sun Witches was able to tell her ancient collaborators that they are ready to move forward with the next step of the plan, and all they need is the blessing and the go ahead to go so. The collaborators exactly told the leader of the Sun Witches they are more than welcome to proceeding to move forward with the next phase of the planning, since the members of the Order of the Five have officially welcomed you into their ranks. You are more welcome than ever to proceeding with the plans of the organization and with the plans of your group's organization and with the plans of their organization and with the plans of their own ancient shadowy coven, which the three of them do share a different incentive of a goal, but they all share a common interest to making sure that they never repeat the same failings as such as undermining or underestimating the members of the Universal Heroes and especially their allies. That is where they all agree, as the leader of the Sun Witches was able to exactly state the exact same thing. On the 20th of September, the leader of the Sun Witches was able to meet up with the newest freshman witches within the college itself, telling them that they need to actually find a way to wield and control their powers and their abilities to not allow them to control them. And with that being said, she was able to conjure and summon an entire ancient bubble that houses powerful destructive ancient entities, of creatures that were completely literally in the darkest and most purplest form, which was able to demonstrate to them that in order for them to control the power of these dark creatures, they must find a way to utilize the energies that these creatures possess, which in turns out in truth they'll be able to use these powers against the enemies that they are fighting, and especially against the enemies and the adversaries of the members of the Order of the Five, as she told the other newest freshmen, while her sisters precisely listened to the lesson. And the newest freshmen began becoming highly intrigued, and they're about to be granted new power, new dark power, and new dark forbidden techniques and abilities due to the creatures that they're about to precisely inherit their dark powers as well. On the particular day of the 12th of October, the leader of the Sun Witches and the rest of her sisters remained within the dark hole itself, finding a way to meditate and finding a way to precisely to meditate their powers, since they were all quietly wearing the ancient black cloaks, that particularly symbolizes their power and the group that they quietly in with the coven as well. But their eyes are frequently orange, as in orange eyes, symbolizing the power of the sun and symbolizing the power of the dark magical sun's powers and its abilities as well. With that being said, they were all particularly meditating within the dark hole, as they were all actually able to gain the great knowledge and the great interpretation of what they need to do next as well. Despite this, guys, the Sun Witches are very ruthless and a very powerful, sadistic witches. The leader of the great Sun Witches is a very powerful, formidable, power figure of the entire coven of the newest freshmen of the witches, and she leads them with great authority, and they quietly respect her dramatically. And in doing so, she also respects the members of the coven as well. Due to this, she is the elder sister of her youngest sisters of the coven, which they are particularly three of them of the coven of the Sun Witches, who are particularly actually leading the rest of the coven itself as well, and they particularly are good at leading it and also greatly leading it with great authority as the newest freshmen of the witches, some who come from Earth, some who come from distant planets, from distant worlds, clans, tribes, are able to join in forces with the coven in ensuring that it remains powerful and also very, very devastating. With that exactly being said, they are powerful and they are very, very devastating. The leader herself is very powerful and very great with her powers and her abilities, as each members of the coven possess destructive powers and greater abilities, such as ability of summoning and conjuring shadows, the abilities of controlling creatures and monsters, summoning resurrection, the abilities of controlling magical signs at will, harnessing the power of shadow energy, the ability of manipulating the elements, the ability of manipulating the elemental energies of nature, fire, wood, stone, sand, dust, and also nature itself, as well, and also with the power of lightning and electricity, which the lightning powers and the abilities become purplish powers or yellowish powers, symbolizing the power of symbolizing the great power of the negative emotions, rather than to have blue lightning, such as a powerful, sinister criminal of the sacred world who also possesses the greater power of using blue lightning more rarely. But like Kevin Dawkins himself, his lightning is more blue due to the positive power, due to the positive of his emotion. Their lightning is quietly purple, as in violet, purple in color lightning, symbolizing negative and dark, destructive emotions of their power as well. They're very good with the power of teleportation, mind controlling, the power of using forbidden signs, techniques, summoning creatures and monsters, and sealing creatures, and with the power of sealing ancient powers within a monster statue, and with the great powers of creating, with the great powers of all life creation technique, and with the powers of the death tech, with the ancient death creation technique as well, and the power of shadow creation, and with the power of light creation and of sun creation. They are very good in their powers and in their great powers of teleportation, and with the great powers of levitation, mind controlling, mind reading, manipulation, recreation, creating monsters, creatures, and beings, keeping powers and magical powers at bay, and also utilizing their abilities as well. They are very resourceful and very highly clever, 12 leveling intellect, and very wise and very dangerous as well. They are very known to possess a very extreme, deadliest ideology and a greater dark, sinister philosophy, and a very greater dark, sinister philosophy. And they are also highly darkly independent on their own as a powerful, sinister group. The leader of the sun, which leads another shadowy powerful group of ancient shadowy witches and ancient shadowy criminals, where she fully leads it with great authority, and all the members completely respect her with a full dignity and with her full power. She possesses a powering, mysterious powering figure, which the other members are frightened of, and they decided it's best to respect her because of all the other members. She's very ruthless and very heartless. Unlike me, who would always exactly remain kind, but despite that, she does have a kind personality, but she's also highly open-minded on who not to trust and who not to exactly allow inside the inner circle of the group, especially the enemies of the universal heroes and the allies as well. Due to this, she was able to actually form sadistic, powerful allies with the most deadliest criminals, of the solar system, such as Green Man, Professor War, who's actually a secret member of an ancient dark organization known as the Founders, and which he actually provides the members of the Order of the Five with one of the most deadliest criminals to be released from the astral prison, as well as a favor to the Sun Witches as well. The leader of the Sun Witches is very noble and very, very highly skillful and impatient with her goals. It is said that she possesses the most devastating powers and the most greatest abilities, unlike her sisters, unlike her greater, younger, elderless sisters of all. She's literally the exceptional and most powerful of all the other freshman witches, and she leads them with great authority as well. Despite that, the other members of the shadowy group that she leads with great authority respect her, and they see her completely as a powerful, godlike goddess of a figure as well. They were able to study the ancient ways of how the ancient legendary shadowy king of darkness was able to find forbidden signs and techniques of controlling the power of shadows and darkness, and will of creating shadowy creatures and monsters and unknown abominations in order for him to perfecting his army. and they are also able to find a way to utilizing those techniques to themselves in order to evolve and improve their dark magic and their powers at will. Due to this, they gain the greatest experience and the greatest ideology and the greatest knowledgeable studies as well in learning ancient history and in learning ancient sacred magic histories wars, and they were able to learn more about the ancient goddess of the sun, who is rumored to be the most powerful progenitor of their kind and of their descendants as well, which they are the great descendants of the goddess of the sun and of the great sacred sun founder as well, which the sun fairies are actually closely related to the sun, which makes them distant relative. They don't share the same blood, but they are after all distantly relative. The ancient blood of the sun is very powerful and very dangerous as well. And they can actually read minds, and they can actually read minds, restore memories back with the power of hypnosis. The sun, which is a very deadly and also very destructive, but they are also known to be said to be very, very powerful and very, very sadistic and very evil incarnate. The sisters and the leader of the sister is very, very highly ruthless and merciless. She doesn't show humanity or compassion. Instead, she leads the group with with great honor and with great authority. She commands the new freshmen witches on how to control their powers and their abilities as well, with very great teachable lessons, which will soon helping them to controlling and mastering their dark abilities as well in the process. They are very powerful, and they do share a dark ambition to conquer and rule many known magical colleges and schools of the entire sacred magic universe. They literally know all about sacred magic universe's histories, wars, and conflicts, and they've been highly been observant of everything. They possess a brain of great 12th level intelligence and 12th level intellect, very resourceful with destructive technology, the power of convergence, summoning, resurrection, detection, and the power of sensory, and the power of great sensory, and the power of great perception in seeing the entire sacred universe and world in a different way of their own different perspectivity as well. Due to this, the leader respects her sisters, and the rest of the sisters respect their brother, which is Nurzak, who is a high-ranking member of an ancient secret society of supervillains known as the Order of the Five that decides the fate of humanity. And the leader of the Sun, which is, and the rest of her two sisters are the high-ranking members of the organization itself, which they believe in the organization's ideology and its philosophy and its long-term plans and goals, and they are willing to make sure that those plans successfully bear fruit, even if it means by facilitating wars, conflicts within the shadows of mankind and within the shadows of the sacred world, which will benefit the newest associates and their members in the shadows as well, which is very crucial for their goals and for their mission, for them to actually speeding up the process of their long-term plans as well. The leader of the Sun Witches has learned the hard way that Universal Magic Girl is more than just an adversary to her, that she has become her greatest enemy, and that she's evenly matched with her, and the rest of her sisters have decided it's best not to underestimate the allies of the Universal Heroes and the Four Nation Hunters of the Intergalactic Coalition, because that'll be a mistake that'll be a very big mistake not for them to repeat ever again. They do learn from their failings because they are extremely immortal and very extremely highly resilient, clever-minded, open-minded, and key-minded, very wise not to see things, but very good in seeing things the way they are, and very wise not to open up or turn up a blind eye. That makes them dangerous and also quietly unpredictable. They actually have a growing fascination of Universal Magical and the rest of the Universal Magic Heroes, which they decided is best that they will remain the top greatest number one enemies above the Universal Heroes, which they are after all the allies of the Universal Heroes. But they've actually learned that it's best to make them the greatest enemy, since they do share the same magical powers and abilities, despite them being negative and being positive magic, which are literally at war with each other as well. Regardless of that, they're very good in maintaining the individual bases, as such as the hideouts, which are completely scattered within the sacred great nations of the sacred world, which many of them houses ancient statues, creatures, monsters, godlike beings, and creatures such as the dog druid, the sun druids, the sun fairies, the ancient Phoenician hunter godlike being, and the ancient unknown monster ring creature. The hideout itself houses many ancient statues, but within those hideouts, they use them in order to operate in creating deadly dark experiments notation in order to supplying the operatives of the organization of the Order of the Five with devastating and highly compatible technology and greater weapons and with greater battling weapons and armoring in for them to actually use. They are also very good in forming sinister ancient alliances with one of the most powerful supreme shadowy sorcerers, one who is quite the ancient and literally unknown throughout sacred history, who's a legendary dark mythical figure of a folklore or dark mythical figure of a folklore throughout Phoenician hunter history. The other who was quietly imprisoned in a dark, mysterious, dark dimension and recently summoned by the Sun Witches, in a later years, who has become a recent ally as well. And the other sinister, shadowy figure of a collaborator who is also a masked individual, but his mask is still unknown. They haven't actually able to see his mask up close or his identity, but he is one of the most powerful shadowy collaborator of the Sun, which is it is thanks to him that he was it is thanks to him that he was able to provide the Sun Witches in the group that they completely lead with great expertise and with great knowledge and with great intelligence on how to remain powerful and highly connected as well. He possesses the great dark influential connections throughout the entire sacred criminal underworld of the sacred universe as well. Due to this, they were able to gain newest members of the group with a sinister shadowy society group as well, in order for it to literally bear fruit with these goals, in order to fasten, in order to speed up and facilitate the progress of their long-term plan in the process as well. They are very highly good and very highly good in maintaining the central headquarters, which is quite an entire beautiful magical village that is quietly well isolated within the actual western side of the sacred great nations island, where they rule it with great authority, and the great individual beings and the inhabitants of the people believe that the great leader of the sun, which is rumored to be an actual goddess of the sun, which they completely respected her and her sisters, believing that she will liberate them from the horrors of the war, from the horrors of the sacred world's wars and conflicts by any means necessary. And she uses her divine forbidden powers to create rain and sunlight throughout the entire village, making sure that the people perceive her as a godlike being, and she never exposes herself to the entire people, to the rest of the entire people of the village, and she remains within a tower, watching over them, sensing and also detecting any unwanted intruders within the village, which she doesn't exactly want that. And her two sisters remain by her side at all times. They converge their power, combining their power, creating sinister rituals, dark, powerful rituals. They have thousands and millions of dark, sinister, shadowy followers of powerful, dark, notorious magic users who follow them and who graciously lead them, and they lead them with great authority, and in doing so they provide them with great knowledge and with great interpretation of how to using forbidden hand signs and symbolic powers to controlling dark devious creatures and beings and monsters of the dark dimension, and also utilizing the forbidden technique of the legendary king of darkness, which he was able to conjure up from his very own power, from his very own powers of shadows and of darkness as well, at will as well. Due to this, they possess a strong will of the sun, and she is very notoriously strong and confident over that will. She believes in the goals of the Order of the Five, and she's willing to make sure it's actually seen through. They all possess different forbidden, devastating powers and unknown, devastating techniques. She can project a shadowy astral projection of herself, such as her sisters. They can also do that as well. And they are very powerful, dangerous, highly skillful. They speak ancient languages, as every ancient creatures of the sacred world and all of the great sacred nations. They all have their own ancient languages. As such, of the ancient sun fairies, sun witches, the Phoenician hunters, all of the entire beings and origins, and all vampire creatures and races and worlds, they all have their different ancient language, and they all have their different perspectivity and their own greater perception as well of detecting and sensing beings and creatures from far away. And they utilize the abilities of nature transformation in order to transform and in order to shapeshift at will, which the leader of the sun which can precisely do, and so can her sisters, and so do, and so can the rest, and so can the rest of the newest freshmen. They possess the power of shapeshifting and changing the color of their skin and the color of their eyes as well, which makes them extremely dangerous. But the leader has quietly grown fond of Universal Magic Girl and of the Universal Magic Heroes, and she decided best not to kill them, rather to use them as pawns to furthering their long-term plan and goal of ruling the entire sacred magic universe and making sure they remain the sole superior rulers of all sacred magic reality in the process, trying to alter the course of the entire sacred magic universe's wars and conflict for their own benefit, and by making sure that their sinister, shadowy allies remain within the shadows, where they will be the next rulers when the time is ready for them to leave up the mantle and the responsibility. Well, guys, that's it for today's episode. Oh, one more thing: the ancient hideouts and headquarters that they quite operate from possess ancient, powerful, mythical statues, paintings, drawings of monsters, creatures, druids, and the children of destiny, better known as the children of prophecy, which speaks about how they control their powers and their abilities and their great long-term powers and their abilities as well, how they can conjure their powers as well. It is thanks to that knowledge that the Sun Witches and the leader of the Sun Witches and the other supreme dark sorcerers who are also able to learn from those paintings and from those drawings how to conjure up their abilities and their powers, which helps them to improve them in a more faster, extreme rate as well. They are very good in dark knowledge, and in reading ancient texts and in ancient knowledges from ancient books, from ancient power books, and from ancient spell books as well. They're very good with that. They possess a strong ideology and they possess a strong perception. Well, that's it for today's episode, guys. I all hope you have a wonderful, blessed day. Today's episode was the Sun Witches or the members of the Order of the Five. So I'll upload it right now and also download it in TikTok and in shorts and in long videos in YouTube as well. Very grateful for your guys' support. Have a blessed day. Stay safe and stay happy and enjoy your day, and don't let anything or anyone else ruin it. Stay positive and have a positive mind and keep pushing. I'm rooting for all of you guys, and stay safe. Appreciate your support. Please continue to supporting me, and please continue to support me, and remember to have a key open mind and to be highly observant and to take care of yourself as well. Very happy for you guys, and I'm also very happy for myself as well. May God bless you and have a blessed day. I'll actually see you tomorrow on Thursday. We'll be talking about the dragon race, and take care of yourself. Like and subscribe in Below Yours channel in YouTube or in TikTok, which you'll find it there for those of you who are quietly willing to find it. If you any other questions, please put them up in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. With that being said, take care of yourself. I'll see you tomorrow on Thursday. Bye. As in like goodbye, so bye.